Yeah, out and running. All right. Well, that's good news for everybody else. Out and running with a backpack into the Home Depot right here, into the parking lot anyway.
Welcome to Viral Twist. Someone stole a hospital bus and drove it like their steering wheel was a joystick. Wrong turns, wild speeding, and the worst game of hide and seek. You won't believe how it ends.
How weird is this, Chauncey? Pursuit number 3 of the day we're covering now as we just got off the northbound 170 at Victory Boulevard, and we are now through North Hollywood. We had heard that this began in the Hollywood area, which is where Children's Hospital is, of course, off of Sunset in Vermont, as we circle back around now, headed southbound on the 170. So a little kind of a loop-de-loo right there. Now, the at least good news is that we believe that only the suspect is on the bus, kind of having a hard time controlling this thing right now. This is a carjacking, they're saying, so they may have, forced this vehicle away from the driver, but we do not believe anyone else is aboard the bus right now as we are back on the freeway. We've been on and off the 170, kind of hanging out in the North Hollywood area. Oh, no,
Whoa.
What is he doing? Getting off here and doing some off-roading now, right off of the Oxnard. Oh, my goodness, I can't believe he didn't get stuck right there. But this bus really being tested now as he's on the wrong way here on this on-ramp. How terrifying for all these people getting off at Oxnard Boulevard. Wrong way driving here now on the Oxnard off-ramp. Really, really crazy stuff. Wrong way back onto Victory. So, sorry, that was actually the Victory on-ramp there from the 170. This one just took a really wild turn, Chauncey and Mike.
Yeah, that could have been very dangerous, especially when you're in a car like this, a heavy van like this, Mike.
Right, and that eliminates any chance of a pit maneuver. They're not going to try that with this high-profile car. And again, this did start in the Hollywood area. We believe it was stolen from Children's Hospital LA as we ditch on a side street here off of Victory. I was watching and listening. They went up into the Burbank area, went all the way east into the city of Burbank on the 134, then came back westbound on the 134, northbound on the 170, where we've just been doing this kind of dance up and down the 170. As SkyCal was getting overhead, they were northbound 170, southbound 170, northbound 170, and that's kind of what we just saw right as Desmond got overhead, now into the neighborhood here in the Valley Glen area off Bel Air and Gilmore Street. Luckily, though, as Des mentioned, nobody on board. We do know that this bus holds 25 passengers. There are not 25 passengers on board. And as Desmond also mentioned, this is a carjacking, not a straight stolen, meaning that the car or the vehicle was taken from somebody who was in possession of it. That's the difference between what's called a straight stolen, is if you just steal a locked car that nobody's around, or a carjacking, which is it was occupied by somebody at the time it was taken.
At this point, slowing down at least at this red light. Let's see what they do. Nope, they decide to go through that as well. So again, I was talking about this on an earlier pursuit too. It's just so hard for law enforcement when they back off, in the interest of public safety. But then it's like sometimes it doesn't even matter. These suspects are still agitated. They're wanting to get away. They're probably, detecting the helicopter overhead. So they want to keep eyes on this person. They want to bring him to justice. But then you back off the units on the ground, which gives the suspect the advantage. And then they continue to run through red lights and endanger people. So, what do you do when you're the authorities? It's such a tough thing for them to have to deal with here. Burbank and Van Nuys Boulevard, another very busy intersection, going to be turning into the downtown. We're by the Van Nuys Courthouse now, making this northbound turn onto Van Nuys. Let's just hope that they're headed somewhere where they want to ditch the vehicle and get out and at least end the danger to the public. Yep, I think so. I think so, Mike. Yeah, we do have so Van Nuys. I don't even know if I imagine they were listening to the radio traffic there. But look, and now the craziness again. So, he had calmed down maybe a little bit, but now you see he sees those lights and now kind of starting to panic again. But you just really hate to see the kind of insane driving that we saw with a vehicle this large that is capable of doing a lot of damage to people, and then as essentially almost in a sense rewarding bad behavior by letting them go. But it is such a tough thing for law enforcement because if this did end with an innocent person getting injured or worse, the authorities a lot of the time for right or wrong end up bearing the blunt of the blame for it. So it's just such a tough situation for law enforcement as we blast through another red light, at least slowing down a little bit as they're going through the intersection. But we're right by Van Nuys City Hall, the big government complex right there, right by Van Nuys Station, which is attached to that courthouse, if memory serves. So, let's see what the next move is here. But there are definitely some units involved in this one, at least these two in the pursuit. one right by there as we are getting right by the courthouse now, guys.
And Desmond, this area, he seems like when he's, and I know you're trying to get eyes on the suspect, but this area, he seems like to be going on the side streets, and then now he's just focused here in the Van Nuys area. He's focused on those side streets, right, Des?
Yeah, pretty focused in these narrow side streets. It's kind of a dense area, lots of apartment buildings, lots of parked cars, fairly narrow streets right in this area. And is the suspect headed somewhere? They've been on a very annoying trajectory for us because they continue to kind of stay along the final approach for Burbank Airport, which fortunately there's no inbound traffic at the moment, as we give you a pretty decent look here at this driver. And yeah, it's someone wearing a yellow shirt, looks to be an adult male, I believe, who's driving this. As we're now back out onto Van Nuys Boulevard near a massive homeless encampment right there on the other side of that vacant lot. Up here by AC Goji, very cool Korean barbecue restaurant I can vouch for. Van Nuys and Sherman Way, one of the busier intersections in the valley. I mean, Sherman Way, practically like a mini freeway here in the valley. So now we're headed up towards Panorama City, the old GM plant, we call it. We'll go underneath the Metrolink tracks if we continue going this way. There are definitely some dead-end streets up here if the suspect gets off of Van Nuys. And in fact, they nearly turned into one earlier when we were back in the North Hollywood area. He was over by a park, but he went right instead of left. Would have been interesting to see what would happen if they get into a situation where they might be cornered. We don't know just exactly how desperate this suspect is going to be as they're forced to stop for that traffic. But you see a lot of people out here walking around as we continue northbound. We are basically getting our way into Panorama City now at this point.
All right, Des, thank you. I want to go back over to Mike Rogers. And Mike, we talked about Van Nuys and North Hollywood, both of those units discontinuing the chase. Do you think the route had anything to do with it? At one point, you talked about families being out, right, and the public safety risk just not worth it.
Yeah, the streets that he was driving on, the way he was driving on those streets, but then also his clear intent and disregard for anybody, really. I mean, that move that we saw getting off the freeway, I think, is, kind of one of those things where they really realize that this person is willing to do whatever they think it takes to get away, and that includes driving like that, driving wrong way on the off-ramp. That was something that the LAPD really didn't like. And then when we were on those surface streets, just going incredibly fast. Even they went into tracking mode, and that's what's interesting here too, is they did try tracking mode as we come up on this bicyclist here, but they did try tracking mode. Tracking mode didn't work. He kept driving the way he was driving. Then they went back into pursuit. Then they went back into tracking. And they tried these moves to try to get this guy to slow down and to not drive like he's being chased. And kind of no matter their tactics, he still drove that way. Even when he wasn't being chased, even when they discontinued the chase altogether, he continued to drive like that. Chauncey, I think this is the first time that we've actually seen any kind of calm speed limit, even under speed limit driving during this whole thing. As we pass, we're in Panorama City now.
Right, and
yes, we're right by the plant. Sorry, Chauncey, we're right by the plant, a really large shopping center right here. And because are we out of stop? Because this was going to lead into a dead end anyway. Stop. Let's see if they're going to get out here. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, out running. All right. Well, that's good news for everybody else. Out and running with a backpack into the Home Depot right here, into the parking lot anyway. Yep. Well, you saw LAPD. They're aware. Maybe he wanted to stop and get some flowers here. He's in the gardening section. He's going to run into the Home Depot. And this is the unfortunate thing when there's no black and whites behind them. He's wearing a yellow shirt, which will kind of stand out, but now he's going to be inside here blending in with probably a lot of people. Here comes LAPD, but so they're going to get in here pretty quickly. But like I said, sometimes all you need is 10 or 20 seconds. There could be rear emergency exits here where the suspect could try to hide. We all know how massive Home Depot stores are. Just a lot of ways, unfortunately, for the suspect to get away.
Well, there we go. This carjacking suspect taken into police custody. The Children's Hospital bus that was allegedly taken in North Hollywood is now there in this area, parked right there beside this Home Depot. After this suspect runs inside of this Home Depot, tries to get away from police, but has been arrested and will be taken into police custody.